How we doing, everybody? UFC Thoughts here, and today I'm going to be going over my picks and breakdown for every fight on UFC Saudi Arabia, Whittaker vs. Aliskerov on June 22nd, 2024. Let's get right into it with the first fight of 11. We start with the bantamweight road to UFC finale, Zhao Lung versus Chung Ho Lee. I'll go with Chung Ho Lee. To be honest, I don't think either of these guys are all that great. Both guys showed holes on road to UFC, but if I had to say who looked better, I would say that Chung Ho Lee definitely had the better moments. Zhao Lung, both of his fights went to decision. The first one was a split decision that I personally scored against him, but then his second fight went to majority decision. Both of these guys look for ground exchanges. They both are kind of wrestlers. Chung Ho Lee especially, he shot a takedown like 5 seconds in his first fight on road to UFC. I also just think that Chung Ho Lee, his only loss is to not really bad competition. He kind of just got outworked and outdamaged in that fight. Zhao Lung is younger, but he's also lost a bunch. So I just think that he's kind of in that mindset of, I've lost once, what's another one? You know what I mean? I just think that Chung Ho Lee does a bit better work on the ground than what Zhao Lung is able to do. Whatever Zhao Lung is able to do on the ground control-wise, Chung Ho Lee is able to do it a little bit better, I'd say. Also, Zhao Lung is super wide open on the feet, and I'm not saying that Chung Ho Lee is not open on the feet, because he's also open on the feet, but I'd say Chung Ho Lee, his striking is just a little bit more ready, is the word I'd use. Because Zhao Lung, even though he has an insane 26-8 record, I mean, he's still only 26 years old. He looks like a wrestler. His stance is like a wrestler sometimes. He has his hands kind of low, like you can tell he's going to go for a double leg. I think if Chung Ho Lee is able to keep it on the feet, he should be able to just out-damage Zhao Lung, because both of these guys, I've said it before, I don't think either of these guys are all that great, but I just think that Chung Ho Lee, even though he has the less fights, I think he is a more complete mixed martial artist than Zhao Lung. So I'll go with Chung Ho Lee, unanimous decision, 30-27. I'm not confident in this pick. This is one of my least confident picks on this entire card, but because neither of these guys look all that great, so anything can happen, honestly. These are two of the guys that I thought looked mediocre on road to UFC out of the entire competition, but they made it to the final, so what do I know? We move to Magomed Gadzhiesulov versus Brandon Ribeiro. I'll go with Magomed Gadzhiesulov by first round KO. This fight, it really is if Brendanson lands heavy first or if he gets hit heavy first. Brendanson has a lot of power on his hands. I mean, 9 wins by KO. He has all wins by finish. But 3 of his 6 losses are by knockout, and 5 of his 6 losses are just by finish in general, and all 3 of those KO losses come in the first round. And he's fighting a guy like Magomed Gadzhiesulov, who is a well-endowed kickboxer, throws a lot of leg kicks, throws a lot of body kicks, and I think that's going to really help him in this matchup to gain range, pardon me, Curtis Blades moment, but I just think that Magomed's sneaky kickboxing style, the way that he's able to mix in strikes to the head and to the body, and also to the legs, he throws a lot of leg kicks, and that's something that I think he can capitalize on, because Brendanson does get hit with leg kicks often. I think he also just gets in pocket exchanges that he can't capitalize on. Magomed, he's been hit a couple of times off of the tape I've seen. He does get hit sometimes. He does leave openings. But I just think that the openings that Brandon Ribeiro leaves open are way, way more. There's the ability to capitalize on them is significantly more than the ones that Magomed has. And Magomed hits pretty hard. Prior to his last 2 fights, he had almost every win by finish. The one thing I will say about Magomed is his lack of competition he's faced is worrying. Prior to fighting, what was it, Mohammed Saeed Malem, everybody he fought had like 2 fights on their record. So He's fighting a bunch of cans. He beat the shit out of Jose Medina on the Contender Series, though. And I just don't think that Brennison Ribeiro has the head of a of a Jose Medina. I think Magomed's going to land early and heavy. I think he's going to knock out Brennison Ribeiro. It's something with the Ribeiro brothers. Their chins just don't hold up against competition. So I go with Magomed Gajiasulov by first round KO. We move to Kyung Ho Kang versus Muin Ghafarov. I'm going to go with Kyung Ho Kang. If I'm being honest, I don't even really care about this fight. I don't think of these highly of these two guys anyways, but I think Kyung, he should be able to clip Muin when he's coming in. The only thing that scares me a little bit is Muin maybe being able to out-volume Kyung Ho Kang, because that's something that we've seen happen with Kyung is he's tentative to throw, even though he has so much range on the guys he's fighting. I mean, 73-inch reach at bantamweight, you'd think he'd be able to fucking pop everyone's heads, because he's not even that slow even. He's a bit slow, but he's not that insanely slow. He just kind of doesn't like to throw as much. He's very low output, and that's something that Muin Ghafarov is not. Muin, you'll see him throw fucking 5 haymaker right hands. He'll miss all 5 of them because he's dog shit, but he'll at least throw them. He'll also shoot from way out. Muin just doesn't show anything. He hasn't shown anything to me in these past 2 fights that he's had. These guys are both John Castaneda victims, which is kind of, funny, but I think that Kyung Ho Kang, he usually throws crisp right hands when people are coming in, and Muin Ghafarov, he leaves openings when he's rushing in. I think that Kyung should be able to clip him. I think it should resemble maybe the Christian Quinones fight, if I'm remembering his name correctly. Let me check. It was the dude with the really shitty tattoos. Hold up. Sorry, this is a little, clicked on the wrong fucking guy. It is Christian Quinones, right? Yeah, Christian Quinones. He's not that great. Yeah, I don't really think highly of either of these guys. I think that both of these guys are not going to do much. But I think that Kyung Ho Kang should be able to edge it out. Also, Kyung, even though Muin Ghafarov does have the grappling, Kyung does have a lot of submissions on his record. And we've seen Muin get submitted by Said Nurmagomedov. He shoots and leaves his neck just wide in the fucking open. And Kyung could be able to latch it up with his long, lanky-ass arms. I'll go with him by unanimous decision. But, yeah, this fight, it could be fun because Muin does throw a lot of bullshit. He also is, I remember him, he's the Tajikistan guy with the one patch of back hair for some reason. I don't know why he only has it in one part of his body. It's honestly fucking disgusting, but Kyung, I don't know, to be honest, who gives a fuck? We move to Rinat Fakhretdinov versus Nicholas Dalby. I'm going to go with Rinat Fakhretdinov by unanimous decision, 30-27. This fight, I just don't see Nicholas Dalby being able to fucking win by the power of friendship in this one. Listen, because like Gabriel Bonfim, he's young, so he gassed out, because Gabriel Bonfim also didn't he have like an 100% finish rate? Had never seen like the fucking 3rd round or something. Let me check that out. He had 100%. Yeah, 100% finish rate. Is it all first round finish? No, he saw the 3rd round against Brenner. But all mostly first round finishes from him. He kind of punched himself out in that fight. Rinat Fakhretdinov, a lot of people are going to bet against him based off that last fight against Alessio Zaleski dos Santos. What they don't remember is what he did to Andreas Michailidis, the guy who wrestled Alex Pereira in his debut, being able to control Alex Pereira. Yeah, Rinat Fakhretdinov controlled that guy. He then fucked up Brian Battle like 30-25 or some bullshit, and then he knocked out and subbed Kevin Lee in the first minute. Listen, Nicholas Dalby, he's an old veteran guy. He's had a lot of fights. He's fought a lot of good guys. He's had split runs inside the UFC. This recent tenure has been his best outing for sure. But Rinat Fakhretdinov is still one of my favorite prospects. The way he's able to mix in the arts, because it's mixed martial arts, is honestly very good. And Nicholas Dalby, that fucking always looks like he's gassed. Listen, he might have a gas tank advantage in this fight because Rinat did slow down a little bit in that Zaleski Dos Santos fight. But I think if Rinat Fakhretdinov doesn't play into the crowd and fight a dumb fight, he should be able to win this. Nicholas Dalby, he is a marauder, but I think Rinat Fakhretdinov is just better. I think he's a better fighter than Nicholas Dalby. Nicholas Dalby is more of a dog than Rinat Fakhretdinov, but Rinat Fakhretdinov is like the vet. He's ready to put down this dog. So, Nicholas Dalby can win it. The only way he'll win it is very late. Nicholas Dalby, when was the last time Nicholas Dalby got like a first round KO? How many first round KOs does he have? 3. Alright. He doesn't have a lot. He's also he goes to decision a lot. He has more decision wins than finishes. But Rinat Fakhretdinov, I mean, this dude, he murders people, man. I don't think he's going to be able to finish Nicholas, because Nicholas has never been finished in his career. But I think he'll win this shit dominantly. He should be able to, I don't know if he'll be able to hold down, but I think he'll be able to control in the clinch, land more damage than Nicholas Dalby. So I think I'll give him 30-27 unanimous decision. We move to Muhammad Naimov versus Felipe Lima. I like this fight. I'm going to pick Muhammad Naimov, but I'll say this. Felipe Lima, I will say, looks from the eye test, looks like a better fighter than Muhammad Naimov. He does. But I think the difference in this fight's just going to be on sheer size. I think it's just going to be a sheer size advantage for Muhammad Naimov. Felipe Lima, this guy used to fight at fucking flyweight, dude. He fought at flyweight when he was like 20 years old. He's 5'6". He is a bantamweight. He has been fighting at bantamweight. The highest he's ever fought at was catchweight 140. And the thing is, Felipe Lima, he took this fight on short notice. He did have a fight scheduled 4 weeks in advance. That rematch with Magrad, the guy he just beat for the title, right? He was going to rematch him. But now he's fighting Muhammad Naimov. Muhammad Naimov, like, he's having close fights with, like, Nathaniel Wood. And I think Nathaniel Wood is a very touted prospect, very good fighter in the UFC, very well-known, unranked UFC featherweight. He's, like, good at fighting. Like, he's genuinely good. I think as Muhammad, you could argue, like, he cheated in that fight, but he dropped him in the first. And I said that was going to happen. I picked Muhammad Naimov, by the way, to beat Nathaniel Wood. I was like, Nathaniel Wood's a bit chinny. I don't think Felipe Lima's chinny, but I just think that he's young, he's quick, very quick on the feet, very dominant on the ground, but I just think he's going to struggle with the size of Muhammad Naimov, also on short notice, across the world. It's not going to go good for him. I don't think Muhammad's going to finish him. I'll pick him by unanimous decision, 29-28. I think Felipe Lima might be able to capture either the first or the third. It depends on how those rounds go. Because Muhammad Naimov does slow down a little bit. But besides that, like, this dude, Muhammad Naimov, he's knocking out Jamie Malarkey. He's beating up Eric Silva for as long as that fight was going. Even though Eric Silva did injure his leg, he was beating the fuck out of him for the 40 seconds. He towered over him. I just think it's going to be a size advantage. I think Felipe's going to look good. I imagine this fight's going to resemble sort of like Manel Kape versus Felipe Dos Santos. How it was like, this young kid is coming up, short notice. He's going to have a competitive fight with a really good guy. But I just think that he's going to struggle in this fight just based off the size advantage. We move to the featured prelim, Nasrat Haqparast versus Jared Gordon. I'm going Nasrat Haqparast by first round KO. I just think Jared Gordon at this point in his career is just so slow, and just overall his chin is kind of just like deteriorating every time he steps in the octagon. I mean, 4 KO losses, dude. Like, god damn, man. This guy's getting knocked out by a lot of people. He's getting hurt by a lot of people. Yeah. Like, he's decent. He throws big old meaty hooks to get on the inside. Everyone remembers his Paddy Pimblett win that he should have been given a win over Paddy Pimblett. But besides that, like, he's not great. He's slower. He does most of his work in the clinch, I guess. But he's going against a guy like Nasrat Haqparast, who is on a 3-fight win streak, coming off an insane Jamie Malarkey KO. He fucking shut him down. He's also he beat Landon Quinones, and then who did he beat before that? Let me check. Who did he fight before that? And then he beat John McDessie. The only guys you're seeing him lose to, Nasrat Haqparast, in recent memory are like power bomb punchers like a Drew Dober, or like stylistic nightmare matchups like a Dan Hooker and a Bobby Green. Like, Jared Gordon is losing to also good competition, don't get me wrong, but like, I just don't think he's going to be able to imply his style against Nasrat Haqparast well enough to get a win. I just think Nasrat Haqparast is looking really good right now. And I think that a slow striker who has to throw big old meaty hooks to get on the inside is going to struggle heavily against a speedy guy like Nasrat Haqparast, who does look like Kelvin Gastelum, who will have a size advantage, and who will have a reach advantage. Yeah. Jared Gordon's coming off that cool KO over Marco Madsen. That's cool and all, but I think it's where his road stops. We move to the start of the main card. Johnny Walker versus Volkan Oezdemir. A part of me wants to pick Volkan. I'm going to pick Johnny Walker by first round KO. Johnny Walker's always such a hard guy to, like, pick. Because, dude, his chin just is so fucking buns. But I just think, like, this is a fight he should win. Right? Like, he's going to have a significant size and reach advantage over a guy like Volkan Oezdemir, who we've seen get knocked out by long, rangy strikers as well. Johnny Walker just has to apply fundamentals in this fight, and he should win. I don't think Volkan's going to be able to wrestle fuck a guy like Johnny Walker, and because Johnny's starting to work out with his brother more, Walter, who is a fat, blubbery heavyweight who has insane takedown ability. I think Johnny's been working on takedown defense. Volkan is the more crisp striker. I like his 1s and 2s better. I like his hooks, his counter hooks especially, in that Bogdan Guskov fight. They were pretty nice. I also don't like how Volkan hasn't fought in a while. I think Volkan's last fight was that Bogdan Guskov fight, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember him fighting since then. No. He had that... Oh, no, he was supposed to fight Osman Mirzakhanov. Yeah, I don't know. I think this fight's going to go to decision. I think this fight will look like an Anthony Smith-Johnny Walker fight. I think Johnny Walker, if he's able to avoid the head strikes, because Volkan Oezdemir is a bit of a headhunter. He doesn't really like to mix it up as much as Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker likes to throw a lot of leg kicks. I think if he's able to keep Volkan at bay, use the jab, use the 1-2, maybe throw some flying knees in there, who knows, he should be able to win this. He's got a fucking 7-inch reach advantage. He's going to be way bigger than Volkan. Volkan doesn't really do that well against guys who are bigger than him. Most of his losses are to people who are taller than him. Nikita Krylov, Magomed Ankalaev, Yuri Prohaska, 6'3". Daniel Cormier, he lost to Daniel Cormier. That was fucking ages ago. Anthony Smith, Dominic Reyes. Like, these are all pretty big dudes who do have power in their hands. Yeah, I just think that he'll struggle against a guy like Johnny Walker because Johnny is a big fucking guy. And also, it's like, Volkan isn't really beating great guys either. Neither of these guys are beating, like, insanely good competition, but, like, Bogdan Guskov, Paul Craig, he got the robbery against Alexander Rakic, Alir Latifi, Jimmy Manawa, Misha Serkinov, Vince St. Preux. Like, these are not that great of guys. Johnny's only losing to, like, really decent people. Yeah, I think this fight, it might end in the first, but I think I'll go with Johnny Walker, unanimous decision, 30-27. We move to Sharabutin Magomedov versus Antonio Tricoli. I'm gonna go Sharabutin, but this fight could actually cause problems for Shara, if I'm being honest. Antonio Tricoli, a lot of people have been seeing his name around because he's had like 3 fights booked in like the last month against like Umar Sy, fucking Ikram, and now Shara. He's had a couple weight cuts. He pulled out of the Umar fight. I don't know why, but he pulled out of that fight. This fight can honestly cause problems because we've seen Shara, his main struggle, his main weakness is his ground game. He was held down by Bruno Silva, and Antonio Tricoli, most of his work is done on the ground. He loves the judo throw. I think he has 5 finishes by sub. His striking isn't really that great. He throws a lot of winging 1-2s. He kind of is like, his striking reminds me of, who's fighting earlier on this card? Who is it? Reminds me of Brennison Ribeiro. It's a little wild, little wingy punches. But Shara, he's so accurate, man. But honestly, Antonio can cause problems for him just based on his sheer size he's going to have. But I think Antonio is going to gas in this fight. This is a big dude moving down to 185. 6'5", 82-inch reach. He already was cutting weight against that Ikram fight. And Ikram, he had to fly across the world now. He's fighting a really good fucking striker in Shara, who his kicks sound like fucking bullwhips. I think Shara is a safe pick, but do not be surprised if Antonio Tricoli is able to fucking somehow fraud check Shara. I would be so fucking mad if this is the guy to do it. Just because I don't think Antonio Tricoli is all that great, but most of his takedowns are done against the fence. He has a lot of judo throws in his arsenal. So if Shara is just able to stay away from the clinch, which is going to be hard because he's a big fucking guy, if he's able to do that, he should be able to win. Antonio Tricoli also did get knocked out. He gave up in one of the fights. He's also lost to, like, Diego Lima. And fucking, he went on a 3-fight. Like, the guys he's beating are fucking ass. How tall is this guy? 5'10". Like, Fabio Moreira. Yeah, that's a big guy, but what's his record? What was that record? 2-8. Cool. He also fought in the Contender Series and had a fight overturned because he popped hot for, what was it? Yeah. Nandrolone, or whatever that is. Nandrolone? Who cares? Yeah, but I think the safe pick is Shara. Do not be surprised, though. I think Shara should be able to knock this dude out in maybe the second round. I don't think he'll do it in the first. I think Antonio's going to burn a lot of his gas in that first round trying to get Shara down. After that, it's going to be peaches and creamville, as a famous YouTuber who thinks he can beat a lot of animals for some reason says. So, yeah. We move to the featured fight. Kelvin Gastelum versus Daniel D-Rod Rodriguez. I'm going to go with Daniel Rodriguez in this matchup, if I'm being honest. Kelvin Gastelum last time out against Sean Brady, striking didn't look even that good, if I'm being honest. Striking looked a little sloppy in moments, and that was against a grappler. And I know that the takedown threat is what made that fight probably worse for Kelvin, but honestly, Daniel Rodriguez has a takedown threat of his own. He has like a 50% takedown accuracy. When he wants a takedown, he might be able to get them. I mean, this guy was shooting on Neil Magny. What makes you think that he can't shoot on a guy like Kelvin Gastelum? Now, will he be able to hold down Kelvin? Probably not, if I'm being honest. But the way Sean Brady was able to land jabs and right hands on Kelvin Gastelum makes me think that Daniel Rodriguez should be able to. I know Daniel hasn't fought in a minute. It's been like over a year, hasn't it? Something like that. But like, he's coming off Ian Gary, who I think Ian Gary beats Kelvin Gastelum. Also, this fight's up a weight class, so Daniel Rodriguez didn't even have to cut that much weight. He actually had to gain more weight to meet up at 185. He was eating like a fucking hamburger 3 hours prior to weigh-ins. So Daniel's going to have a reach advantage, going to have a size advantage. Kelvin, I think he's just not that great. I don't think he wants it anymore. I think that's what it is. I think he just doesn't have that feeling for it anymore. Kelvin has hands. He has power in his hands. That's a thing that a lot of people, but like, the only strikes that are knocking out Daniel Rodriguez is like a winging right hand from like, what was it, Dwight Grant? Is that who knocked him down? And then a head kick from Ian fucking Gary. So, I think this fight's going to be close. I think this fight's going to look like the Li Jingliang Daniel Rodriguez fight. But I think Daniel Rodriguez is going to definitively win this one. I think it's going to be close. I think Kelvin's chin is also getting to him a little bit. I mean, he's taken a lot of damage in his career, taken a lot of losses, taken a lot of L's. He's like 2-6 in his last 8. I think Daniel Rodriguez should be able to capitalize on this wounded animal that we now know as Kelvin Gastelum. I mean, 12-9-1 as a UFC record. Holy shit. Also, the last person that he finished, did he even finish Ian Heinisch? Hold up. He didn't. The last person he finished was Michael Bisping back in 2017. So, you know, it is what it is. We move to the co-main event of the evening, Sergey Pavlovich versus Alexander Volkov. I'm sadly going to go with Sergey Pavlovich. I want Alexander Volkov to win. I love Alexander Volkov. He's one of my favorite heavyweights of all time. The fucking stylistic matchups he brings are always fucking fantastic. He can cause problems for Sergey with his just size. He's got a nice jab, got a good 1-2, power in the hands, teep to the body, good on the ground even. Volkov's getting good on the ground, but I just think that this fight's just going to look like every other Sergey Pavlovich fight, barring the Aspinall and, who else? Was it Overeem? Those fights. I think he's just going to clip Volkov, who we've seen, when he gets hit, does have reactions. Pavlovich is like a Death Star as a heavyweight. He's a big fucking guy, speedy on the feet, power in both hands like no man's business. This dude's power is fucking astronomical, dude. I think he's going to knock out Volkov, and I'm going to be so sad when it happens, because Volkov is on a streak right now, man. He's on a fucking good run, too. What is it, Rosenstrike, Romanov, and Tai Tuivasa? That's also one of the Volkov's also only recently fighting like fat, blubbery heavyweights. Sergey's a big fucking guy. That's not a fat dude. He's a ball of like, he is a little, I wouldn't even call him chubby. He's just big. He's just a big fucking guy, man. I think Pavlovich, after that Aspinall fight especially, has a fire burning under him like no man's fucking business. And I think he's just going to fucking wing punches in this fight. I think he's going to clip Volkov early in the first. If this fight goes on, we might be able to see problems. Because I think Volkov, as this fight goes on, will have the absolute advantage. When the time's running, he will have absolute advantage. But it's like a Deontay Wilder situation. You have to be perfect for the entire fight. He only has to be perfect for 1 second. And I think if Pavlovich is able to KO guys like Curtis Blades, set them down, Derek Lewis in like a minute. You know what I mean? Like, he's shattering people's faces in like short amount of times. Volkov's big, but the bigger they are, the harder they fall, and I'm going to be so sad when this happens. But if Volkov wins, I will be happy. I like Pavlovich, but I just really fuck with Volkov. But Sergey Pavlovich, first round KO, locking him. We move to the main event of the evening, Robert Whittaker versus Ikram Aliskerov. As you can tell I'm going with Ikram. I just have a really bad fucking feeling that this guy, this Ikram, he's going to somehow fluke this shit and knock out Robert really early. Here's the thing. Robert Whittaker has every, advantage you would want going into a fight like this. Ikram was supposed to fight last week. He was probably cutting weight already. He had to fly across the world. But Ikram, listen, I've watched some of his past fights. Robert Whittaker has some keys to victory. Leg kicks. I like his blitz style. I think it could work well against a guy like Ikram. But one thing I don't like about Robert is he dips his head a lot when he blitzes. And that's something that Ikram picks on really easy, and he sets his shots up. Robert likes to dip every fucking which way he goes. And Ikram, his lead head kick is one of his favorite weapons, and I think he can time the fuck out of Robert Whittaker. I think people can time Robert. For some reason, Robert's very quick, but it seems like every single fight, everyone times him at least one time. Everyone's able to time him at least once. It happens every fight. Everyone's able to time him. And Robert's defense also sometimes is lacking. And I'm not saying that Ikram's isn't lacking. Ikram also does get hit by some shots. But Ikram has a chin on him at least. Ikram has a pretty good head on him. Robert, of course, I've said it before, he's the easiest, hardest top 5 fight in the division. Hardest because I think that Robert Whittaker has some of the best skill in middleweight history, but he's got that X factor of that chin, and Ikram hits pretty fucking hard. Do I think Ikram is going to be able to implement his ground game? If I'm being honest, I don't think so. I think Ikram, his wrestling, I feel, is a little bit overrated. Watching some of his past fights, he struggles to get takedowns against people who just have like the basic fundamentals of takedown defense, and also like bigger opponents. And Robert Whittaker, he may be shorter than Ikram, but he's a pretty big guy, like width-wise. He's a pretty wide guy. So I don't think that Ikram's going to have a lot of success in grappling areas, but I think it'll enhance his striking by making Robert think that a takedown could come on, and that's also something that I think could help Ikram in this fight, is the threat of the takedown. And that's kind of what enhances the striking of all these Dagestani guys, is because everyone, when they fight a Dagestani guy, they're like, oh, when's he going to shoot? You know what I'm saying? And Robert Whittaker, he's a great wrestler. I think that Robert Whittaker, honestly, in this fight might shoot his own couple of takedowns, because Ikram kind of, I've seen him get taken down a couple of times on the regional scene, like against Chad Hannacum, that big South African dude. He's like a middleweight. I think he was on the Contender Series. I forget who he lost to, but I think Ikram, if he's able to end it early, he might be able to end it early. If this gets later in the rounds, I think that we're just going to see Robert Whittaker being able to style on Ikram a little bit. I think speed advantage is going to be with Robert. I think that Ikram's going to be able to time him, dude. I have a really bad feeling. And Robert, this fight just smells of Ikram getting like a first round KO. It fucking stinks of it, dude. It fucking reeks of it. And I'm putting my nose all in it, baby. I'm putting my nose all in that shit. Robert Whittaker, if he loses this fight, I'll be absolutely fucking devastated, because like that would just fucking suck on so many levels. But Ikram's pretty good, man. He's good. If he loses this fight, it is what it is. If he wins it, this is a big fight. It's a big win. People are saying title shot. It's at middleweight, I mean, I think he'd probably have to get one more win because of how many people are waiting for title shots, like Sean Strickland. I honestly think we could see Ikram versus Nasruddin Imavov, that get rebooked. I would love to see that fight if he does win. If Robert wins this fight, they'll probably just rebook him and Khamzat again. But yeah, I'm picking Ikram by first or second round TKO, KO. I'm saying it's going to be with a lead head kick. That's what I'm saying, because we've seen people being able to throw head kicks on that right side of Robert, and he barely gets his arm up, and he kind of does. He moves laterally a lot, bouncing a lot, And Ikram loves to time people with that lead head kick, so that's what I'll say happens. I'm UFC Thoughts. These have been my picks and breakdown for every fight on UFC Saudi Arabia, Whittaker vs. Aliskerov on June 22nd, 2024. My confident picks reside with Renat Fakhretdinov, Nasrat Haqparast, and in the co-main event, Sergey Pavlovich. My pre-card rating is a 7 out of 10. This card is honestly one of the best fight nights we've had in a fucking minute. I'd say it stacks up pretty well with that UFC Austin card, like December 2nd, I believe is what it was. That was Dariush Arman Sarukian. That main card was fucking stacked, dude. This card, of course, had a lot of shit happen to it. Of course, Khamzat pulling out of the main event. A lot of fights got canceled. We were supposed to see, was it Farid or was it Javid? I think it was Farid. I think we were supposed to see Farid Basharat versus Montel Jackson. We were supposed to see Said Nurmagomedov originally on this card. Cedric Dumas, Dennis Tululin, that fight got canceled. There were a couple other ones that got canceled that I'm forgetting about. Oh yeah, Sharbutin, Ihor Pateria, that fight fell through. We've seen Shara get placed with like 3 different opponents. So, Muhammad Naimov, Melsik Baghdasaryan, I was super excited for that fight because Melsik, he's a tricky guy, but I would have picked Muhammad anyways. But this card is nuts. I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I'm going to enjoy it. Yeah. I'll see you guys after the fights. Peace.